everybody. My name is Carol Belize, and I am with Streetwear Live. And today we are interviewing Chicago Sax. Thank you, Chicago, for being with us. We're very happy that you'd be here today.
Thanks
And
for
how
having
are
me here, Bella. Thanks to Streetwear Live for having me again.
Well, you're very welcome, and we're very honored to have you today. We're going to just start off with a few questions. Just to learn a little bit more about Chicago Sax, we're going to ask some real life questions and some Second Life questions, and find out how Chicago got started.
No problem. Ask away.
Hi, Chicago. How are you?
Hello, Bella. Nice to meet you. And well, I think we've met before actually, but nice to see you again, and nice to be involved with Streetwear Live again.
Oh, well, we're glad to have you with us today. Um, well, we've gotten together. We were here earlier talking, and I believe the first thing that I wanted to ask you about is how you got started playing the saxophone, how old you were, and who was behind that? Was that you or your parents or your family?
Well, I was 10 years old, fifth grade, and uh, maybe I was a bit spoiled when I was a kid, and so the rumor was out when we were in school that they were going to start a band. And so I told my folks, I said, hey, you know, I want to play something. So I went, and how they do it in the school systems, because I did it later on in my years, but the music store brings out the instruments that, which one do you want? So you pick and choose, and sometimes they'll tell you that I wanted to play drums, as a matter of fact, and they said, no, we have too many drummers. So they said, pick something else. Well, there was a kid down the block who played trumpet. And I said, well, I want to be like my friend Paul. I said, so I want to play trumpet. They said, your teeth aren't straight enough. I said, how about drums? They said, I told you, you just can't play trumpet. We just told you that. So finally I ended up with, it was either clarinet or saxophone, and I liked the brass look of the saxophone. So then we had lessons after school and on Saturdays. And then you went home and you had to practice, which is a hard thing to do when you're 10. And I always practiced with a clock in front of me, saying, "Oh, it's a half hour a day." So, you used to cheat a little bit, but it paid off in the long run, because when I was in about eighth grade, I was asked to join what in those days, and now we're talking, probably, let's see, 59. 1959. There was a kid who had a band, a real band, a drummer, and he played accordion, and the trumpet player, believe it or not, was the same guy I heard when I in the neighborhood. So it was the four of us, and then that we reformed several times. It wasn't, it's not like a garage band where garage bands, they practice in the garage, and that's where they stay.
Right.
And we didn't do that because we were decent enough, played well enough. We were asked to play mainly for relatives, anniversaries, birthday parties, and then
Mm-hmm.
when I got into high school, I joined the band in there, which was a marching band. And after my second year there, the band was, I think, through some political maneuvering, we were asked to play in John Kennedy's inaugural march in John Kennedy's inaugural parade. So, and the what you have to do to keep a kid playing is, as they have to get these little rewards, like anything else. Do this well and you get a
Right.
piece. Do this well, you get a piece of candy. Well, in this case, it was rewards, and so the thrill of being in Kennedy's inaugural parade, and we bust to, and we slipped on the stage at Georgetown University. But it was a thrill to march in that parade, although it was quite cold. And And then we played for the Chicago Bears, and at that time there was another football team in Chicago called the Cardinals, which is now the Arizona Cardinals. So we marched at halftime in both of
Wow.
those. So yeah, we did a lot, and plus the Saturday high school football game. So I played a lot.
So was this during high school that you did all these?
Yeah,
Um,
that was just high school.
well, that's really interesting. So basically, my sound cut out when you're telling me your age. You were around 10 when you got your sax?
Yes, uh-huh.
Wow. And so you just started playing it, and it was the cool thing to do for all the kids in the neighborhood to hang out and kind of play together. And
Well, yeah, we had a little band, and then so I don't dance, and people say, "Why don't you dance? Why don't?" I said, "I never learned how because I was playing the dances by the time at the time everyone else was learning how." So,
but you've danced since then, right?
oh, a little here and there, yeah.
Yeah, I thought you had. Okay, well, so I was reading your note cards that that you sent me about a little bit about your past history, and I know that probably a lot of the people that are watching this might not have had that note card to read, so they don't know all this history about you. So it's really interesting to find out how somebody starts out and how they how they basically dedicate their lives to something that they love so much, which and you have because you're still playing sax
Yep.
and you're still really great because I've heard you
Thank you.
and yeah I've only seen you once, I have to say, and my sister invited me to come see you and I was quite impressed. I have to say the sax is one of my favorite instruments. But tell me a little bit about your college days, about when you got off
Oh,
to
yeah.
college.
Yeah. My freshman year, I was actually uh, I mean, fraternity. You get into fraternity, especially the music fraternity, and that's networking. Rather than just that's networking when it's immediate because someone said, "Hey, I have a job here," and I ended up playing with more or less the society bands, the 4-piece or 5-piece bands that played the posh hotels and weddings downtown and fairs, and so I worked that, and we worked mainly standard, the standard tune, and but you worked. It wasn't it wasn't steady work. So the second year I was there, a gentleman, Chuck Madden, came up and said, "I'm losing my horn player. Would you like to play?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "Do you work?" And he says, "Yeah, we do." And I said, "Well," and I'm thinking to myself, you know. And I said, "What do you play?" And he said, "We play rock." And I said, "Okay, well," and and as the song goes, rock and roll is here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And, and so I joined that band. That band was called the Astronauts 4 at the time, which was quite the off-centered name. And then we worked doing teen dances mainly, and some clubs. And then the next year, um, we renamed the band to the Missing Links, and we started working in downtown Chicago in the this was in 60s, the early 60s. 60, let's see, 63 is when I started college. So in the 60s, they had the Flower Children.
Oh,
So
yes.
so we worked in an area called Old Town in Chicago, which was we were working in a bar, as a matter of fact, and it was quite slow. So the manager talked the lady into saying, "Say, why don't you run teen dances?" Because we had quite a good success in teen dances. So she started to do that, and the only thing is that it was a bar, and you can't bring teens into a place that serves liquor. So on Saturdays and Sundays, we ran it. Let's see, Saturday was like early evenings. We started around 5ish, and but we had to get there early and take all the booze out of the place and put it in our cars. And then when the gig was over, we used to put it back in and bring it back inside. And then the next day was the same thing. We started earlier in the afternoon to see if we can generate some early crowd. And so we had to do the same thing. And pretty soon we became quite popular. And in fact, to tell you who I used to see down there is on the street. This was really an entertainment street, an entertainment head shop stores. The Second City was down there also. But we we ended up, just on a break, we'd walk down the street and maybe go grab a sandwich or a root beer or a Coke or something, and just
Right.
and absorb the ambience of the area. And so I used to walk past this place called the Hootenanny, and in the Hootenanny, I remember looking up at the sign. It was Jefferson Airplane,
Right. Mhm.
and but there was a kid sitting outside on the stoop, dog with a guide dog, dark glass. And so we used to walk past him. Finally, I stopped. Chuck and I introduced ourselves. We said, we're playing down the street. And he said, oh, I'm playing the brakes for the Jefferson Airplane. I said, how cool is that? I said, what's your name? He says, Jose Feliciano. So,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
he was our age at the time.
Mhm.
So yeah, we ran into a lot of people, and the club owner's daughter knew the people used to come in from Second City. So the early Second City people that really started improv comedy routines you see on television or on cable, whatever you're watching. A lot of that started. There was Second City of Canada, and there was Second City here. So we, Belushi. I think Belushi used to come in. Dan Aykroyd. I've met Dan Aykroyd a couple of times.
It's very interesting because as I was reading your note card too, it sounds like the group that you hung out with in college actually had some I mean, you met some really interesting people that
Oh
were
yeah,
just getting started and they ended
yeah.
up being big people and
Well,
you
in
met
fact,
them in college
yeah.
before
In
they
fact,
were,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say just before they were, before they began,
Yeah,
before
we
they,
there's one side thing you didn't read there is that a lot of the guys played because you just picked up a job, and so during the day there was 5 or 6 guys who were part of the Bozo Circus band, and
I
they'd go
saw
over.
that, yeah.
Yeah, they'd go over and play the Bozo circus gig and come on back to school. But yeah, we as you matriculate through school, you get to know. So I became good friends with Walt Parazater, and Walter is now well, he was one of the founding members of the CTA, and so he and I were quite good friends. Drove to school together every day, and that band, the CTA, the Chicago was sort of the template. I'm sorry, the Missing Links was sort of the template for Chicago or for the CTA,
Mhm.
and and some of my other schoolmates were Lee Loughnane, who's the trumpeter from Chicago, uh, Jim Pankow, the trombonist,
Mhm.
and a gentleman named Jim Guercio. And Jim worked had a business arrangement with Dick Clark. Clark used to run the Cavalcade with Stars tours during the summer. So Jim was in the band here in Chicago, one of Dick Clark's Cavalcade of Stars, and one day he got a call. We were in the cafeteria, and Jim got a call from Dick Clark, and they announced that Mr. Garcia, please come to the office, the
Mhm.
cafeteria office, and we used to sit right outside of the office there, and so he went in there and was on the phone for a bit. He came back out and well, he says that was Dick Clark, and everybody said really, and we were freaking out. So He said, yeah, he said he wants me to, he says, Chad and Jeremy are in town, and Jeremy Clyde is sick. So he said, and Jim said he asked me to come in and do the part. And Jim had long hair, and the way the big venue was set up, Jim, you couldn't tell who it was out there anyway, because if you sat in the nosebleed seats, you could hardly see the people, much less Jimmy. So, but he did Dick Clark a favor, and Dick Clark never forgot it, and finally brought him out to the West Coast and put him in the A band. And then Jim started working in studios, and pretty soon wanted to know what it was like to sit on the other side of the sliders. And so he started to do that, and he did some arranged horn lines for the Buckinghams and for Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And because we were all college mates, Walter got a hold of him and said, hey, he said, come and hear the band. He says, get us on out west. And so finally, through some negotiation, he went west. So the band went west. And Jim gave them an apartment out on Holly Drive there. And they brought their wives. And that was the beginning of Chicago as, well, it was, CTA and then the Chicago Transit Authority, and the name for which they got sued by the city and by the transit system here in Chicago. And then
Mm-hmm.
finally they shortened their name to Chicago. And the
Oh,
rest is history.
I'm going to switch the questioning over a little bit into Second
Okay?
Life. Um, I've been in Second Life for about 10 years now, and it always amazes me because I think, have I ever met anybody famous in here? Have they come in and hidden out and, but you obviously haven't. You've come in and people know who you are. And what made you get into Second Life and what made you think maybe you would like to play your music in here?
Well, I was working in real life in a couple of bistros, and I used to work with a singer who in Second Life is named Chandra Deed. And she had been in Second Life for quite a while, and she started to talk to me about it. We sat and talked for a while, and she said, yeah, she was telling me this and that. And I said, oh, really? So she said, yeah, there was another saxophone player, a good friend of mine sitting there. And I said, listen to this. And she said, oh, I get paid there too. And I looked at him again. I says, really? And so I told him, his name is Rick. I says, Rick, I said, go on and sign in, get in there. And he says, no, he says, you do it. He said, I have a job. And I said, okay, I was retired already. So I said, okay. So I joined up, and that's how it started. And I needed a place to play. And people knew who I was a little bit, but they didn't know me. In fact, if you know Voodoo Shilton, he's the gentleman that sold me my first Second Life saxophone. And
Oh, really?
he and I are steadfast friends to this day. Uh, but so I opened up a little club. It was a little like a little barn almost. It's called Chicago's Place, and that was 6.5 years ago, maybe 6. I learned how to walk. But
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but
Go ahead.
yeah, we didn't have noob school then. I don't think there was a noob school then. Now there are. So anyway, I started playing, and I just played. I turned my mix around. You have to have equipment. That's part of the job of playing in Second Life, or broadcasting through a stream. So you learn the ins and the outs. And so I started playing one day, and I was telling Voodoo, I said, hey, I'm playing over at my place. And I was playing, to some tracks. And she said, I was talking with her, and she said, are you going to start playing? I said, I have been for 20 minutes. And she says, that's you? And I said, yeah. So the word got out that Chicago Sax knew how to play, I guess.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So I have to apologize, but your voice has been cutting in and out
Oh,
for
that's
me.
okay. I'm sorry.
So, was this your second life girlfriend that said
No,
that you
she
were
was
going to
just a
start
lady.
playing?
She was just a lady I was working with in the club here.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and she had been in here for quite a while, and she was working. She was working. She was a love tunes singer. She sang mainly love tunes, and
Mhm.
worked at quite a few of the ballrooms. And so I used to go in there and see her, and
So she
and
didn't realize that you were playing live in Second Life. She
oh
just
no,
didn't
no,
notice.
she did because she knew me. The other one was a girl that used to hang around with the Voodoo Shilton crowd, and I think Max Clean was in town, was in Second Life. See, I know all these people because I've attended maybe since I've been in maybe 8 or 9 of the jams, the Second Life live jams, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where a lot of Second Life musicians we gravitate toward one location, Real Life,
Right.
and we end up jamming for.
I have heard of that. I have heard of that
Oh, they're exciting.
recently.
They're fun, and that's you get to match up the names with the faces, and even non-musicians, some fans, and some people who actually want to do a meet and greet more or less.
Mm-hmm.
They come in. I've said they've been as large as 80 people. I was at one that was 80, and there was about 45 musicians. The rest were just not just welcome to attend.
Mm-hmm.
And we have fun. It gets foggy some evenings, but we have a good time.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Nick just said in local he'd love to go to one of those.
Well,
I
it's the
would too.
camaraderie. It's the
I,
camaraderie.
yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall at one of
Yeah,
those parties. See what goes on behind the scenes. And uh, I I met Max before, Max
yeah.
Clean. He's going to be doing an event for uh, my roommate and I soon, and he's great. Um, and
He's a
I
nice
know
man too. He's a great man.
I heard he was really nice too. I've met a guy. Oh gosh, I'm gonna murder his name, so I'm not even gonna say it. But I've met very few live
Yeah, Toxie Dark Matter comes.
performers.
Toxie Dark Matter's there. Uh, Gina Stella, when she was performing more in Second Life than she has looked lately, she was there, and Gina's from Chicagoland there. And but it's that camaraderie, and everybody. One thing
Hmm.
about musicians that there's another language we speak called music, and
There's a yeah,
it's 12 notes, and that's all we have in Western music, and we put them together and we make beautiful sounds together with only 12 notes in Western music.
yes,
And
yes, and
it's how you put them together. And the thing is that no one, it's everybody. A jam is just that. Let's say that I'm up there, and you usually the first 3 tunes. So you get up there, do your tune, and but if someone says, you say, hey, come on up here and play some bass. I need a bass player, and they get up there and they just sit in. So it's a bunch of sit-ins, is what it is, and it's fun. It's like a real jam should be.
yeah, that is a lot of fun. I've
Hmm.
seen that before, and that is a lot of fun when different people from different bands get together and they just mesh and they start playing, and it sounds like they've been together for years and they've never
Yeah,
played together in
if
their
you go to
lives.
if you go to my on my profile, there's a link to me performing at one of the jams. But if you stay there and see some of the other pages or some of the other uh, you'll see that you'll see guys come up and just sit in. Pretty soon you turn around and you got a drummer behind you who wasn't there before. So,
Yeah, or pretty soon you turn around and you've got a whole brand new band
yep,
formed, and you
yep.
got to think of a new name. That's the only thing I could think of. It's
Yeah,
like,
but
oh
there's
my gosh.
and they're good players. There's some very excellent players. Some that don't get the exposure. I've had to tailor my schedule a little bit, and especially with the club here, right, sort of put it on suspension
Yeah.
because I'm doing some other things. I think you saw me perform, and I also play at a couple of other venues, Cafe Casablanca and Cool Cats Art Music Circus. She's a nice lady. So it's fun. It's fun, and I like to have fun when I'm playing. It's not like it's not like one tune after the other. I like to laugh, and so it's audience interaction is my main goal.
I don't know. Here's a question that this is probably going to be delving in a little bit too deep,
Oh,
asking
that's
you
okay.
top secret information. But I have always wondered, how in the heck do you play an instrument or sing a song, being an entertainer in Second Life? How do you play the instrument or sing the song, and then you can type at the same time? You
Well,
know?
there is a there. Well, some of the with my instrument being requiring my fingers on it, I can't really do that. So but I'm fingering an instrument that mine is an electronic sax called a wind
Yeah.
synthesizer,
Well,
and
all of you really are. I mean, all of you are actually doing that at the same time. I just don't understand how you can do it because I myself am not that talented.
well,
Because
some of the singers, don't forget there's a delay in Second Life of about 25 seconds. So what I play, let's say at exactly 5 o'clock, with the second hand being at the top.
mhm.
When I play a note, it takes you to 5 o'clock and 25 seconds for you to hear it.
Oh, really?
Yes. So there is a delay. And
Oh,
and so therefore maybe in between, you get a couple of words in, but like I said, the way my studio is set up, I have two computers. One is for my stream, and the other one is for uh,
mhm.
my video. So I'm watching, and I've learned a long time. Somebody told me when I first came in, it says, "Do not read the chat. Turn your back." You know. So and I couldn't help but reading the chat, and so sometimes they'll crack me up, and they know I laugh. I like to laugh, so they'll crack me up on purpose. So, but it's a matter of people come into here to be recognized. It's not that they come into a gig to see me. They come into a gig to have the camaraderie they have with everybody else in Second Life, with their friends. So they bring their friends in, and pretty soon it's a party.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true, you know.
yeah. I
Well,
worked with I worked with Wayne Davis for about 3 years in his Avatar band. I never played a note, just stood there on stage and looked cute, and had some, and used to have comments.
uh-huh.
And but we used to get 60, 65, 70. It was, hey, Wayne was known as a sim crasher back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's fun. And then my real life very good friend is Love of Music, who's a singer here and Second Life, and quite good actually. And she's quite popular here. And there's another lady named Jillian with whom real life, and I brought her into Second Life, and Love of Music, Love of Music. I said I'm bringing Jillian, and quite good friends. So I said I'm going to get Jillian an avatar. She says just give her to me, I'll dress her, and I said okay. So so she dressed Jillian, and we played right in here. We played in this room here, and Jillian didn't know anything, so I was running two computers or two instances of Second Life. And I would bring her in and plop her on the stage and said, okay, sing, you know. So,
Oh, that's funny. Well,
yeah.
here's a question for you. Would you recommend Second Life to people that in real life are wanting to get started in music and they don't know how, and maybe they could like get their feet wet in here and kind of try it out and get a tiny little taste of what it might feel like in real life?
Yeah, well, there's two schools of thought there, and there's two avenues. First of all, you get people in Second Life who are musicians, and someone brings them in, and they don't know anything about a stream or a mixer, and it's not just a guitar and you're singing through your microphone. It's not how it works. So you need to invest a little bit of equipment, and so some people that come in who are new or are thinking of say, hey, can you help me out? So I'd be glad to, and I much of the ropes as I can, trying to describe to them. And so then I said the best thing to do is, and I said, because you're not too sure. I said, go buy a cheap mixer. You can't get away without a mixer, and that's the input that you put your microphone in and your tracks in. Most of us play tracks. But to explain to a musician who's just starting out, and I say, hey, there's a good place you could probably learn how to play.
Hmm.
To explain Second Life to someone who doesn't know what it is, you got to start with virtual worlds and avatars, and then pretty soon they're ordering another drink from the bartender. it's like uh,
That's true.
it's like, oh yeah, really? So
I was
yeah, see,
just,
imagine you tell someone you can go into this virtual world, you can buy clothes. Women spend tons of money on shoes. You buy hair, you buy faces, you buy heads, you buy bodies and shapes, and they start to look at you, and.
it's just like real life, except for we can't buy the new heads, bodies, and
Yeah,
skins.
right. We're stuck with what
That's
we
our
have, aren't we?
exactly. We're stuck with what we got, and
Someone
in
said the
Second
other day, I
Life.
was reading, someone said the other day that says, so what's a bento head? And the guy says, imagine that you can take your face, bring it into Photoshop, and make you look like you want to look, your real life face. So he says that's what a head's all about. It's your shape, Like you can even get rid of fix your complexions. So
You know what? I have heard of that. I have heard of them doing actually body scans of people and putting them in here, but I've
oh
never
yeah.
seen it. I've never
Yeah, there's
seen
a
it.
lot of magic. There's some very, very talented people out here. The builders are amazing. The
It is
venues,
amazing.
the venues they build are just amazing.
It
And
really is.
and it's not just a store bought something. Some people put from scratch with just the blocks and the circles and balls that we build section of. So there's some very talented people.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And just in the last few years, it's just advanced so much in building and materials and textures. The
Right?
textures of things are amazingly realistic now to where, and I remember when I started everything, the textures were, oh, just awful. And I thought they were beautiful at the time because that's all we
Oh,
had.
sure.
You
Yep.
know, and now I look at it, it's like, oh my goodness. And
And
uh,
within 2 years, there's more to come. There's another version right now of something coming up, something that's
oh
already out.
yeah, I think
And
Animesh is coming
yeah,
out
the
next.
animated mesh, and then pretty soon they're saying that you're going to apply that to your body. You know,
It's just amazing. I saw
yeah,
a tiger the other day that somebody had made Animesh, and it looked like a real tiger.
yes,
It licked itself. It panted.
yeah.
It huffed and puffed and looked around, and its ears twitched. It was amazing.
Well, you can
But
see, yeah, well, you can tell by the way I'm talking about heads and stuff that I do associate with some females in Second Life from time to time, and I go shopping with them. I watch them,
mhm.
and they ask my opinion. What do you think of this dress? And.
Well, I can't wait to see the exciting changes that they will make in the entertainment world and the music world. Because I'm sure one of the complaints that I have heard from people that like say karaoke, for example, they'll go in and to karaoke and I will hear them sing at a different time than the music is playing.
Right.
And so it's not a very realistic experience. So I'd like to see some of that get a little bit, you
Well,
know,
that's what I was talking to you about the difference between uh, okay,
a
what I've just
delay.
what I've just said to you now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I say hello over my microphone through the stream, it takes 25 seconds for someone to say yes, you know. Or you know, sometimes you'll say, "Can you hear me?" And then you wait, and you know, pretty soon you get used to it. But all of a sudden you see a one, so yeah, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. You know, if you look at it, you figure it's 25 seconds. So when I start a tune and I start playing, and pretty soon, about 25 seconds later, I say, "Oh, I love this song," and I've been playing it
Yeah.
for half, you know. So, but if you when they work in through their computer microphone, it's a totally different story because you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to sing in the Second Life through the Second Life interface rather than trying to go through the stream. Streams aren't that expensive. You know, you can rent one for a month and try it out. But then you need the equipment, and you know, like anything that's done well, it's an equipment intensive undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
Photography, uh, you know, Nick has spent some money on just what he's doing for us here right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was gonna be one of my questions for you. How expensive is it to do that? I mean, is this I mean, out of your real life pocketbook, how much money does it cost you, or just, or if you want to give me that information, if not, you
Yeah,
don't have to.
no, you can get a stream, you can get a mixer, an inexpensive mixer for about $80.
Hmm.
And then a microphone will cost you maybe 50 or 60. Sometimes they'll have a package deal. And but you need a microphone stand, and you need the you know, it's like the old story, you buy a head, you need earrings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need the parts, the cabling, the wires, and but I would say for that plus a stream rentals are about, on the average, maybe per month, I don't know, maybe 600 a month, and then it depends on how many listeners you have.
Oh, it's a really
The,
that expensive? I
yeah,
didn't know it
well,
was that high.
yeah, 600, Lyndon, but it is the thing is, it's how many listeners.
Oh, okay.
If you're very popular, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're limited to what a stream can handle. In other words, we're actually renting a radio station from something called Shoutcast or Icecast or whichever one they're using. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're running an internet radio station. That's what we're renting.
Right.
And so as we rent that, uh, uh, people tune in. Well, if it gets overloaded, you know, let's say you're Max Clean, who draws a lot more people than I do. So Max needs a listener option of maybe up to 100 listeners. I don't. So it costs me less money. So let's say someone, and in fact, in some places you can go to open mics. And in open mics, sometimes the place itself has a stream that they give you and say, okay, do 3 tunes, and then you're going to, you know, we'll take the stream back and somebody else does it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a cool way to start. It's a very cool way to start. But again, you need that initial investment.
So it does cost a little bit of money to get started here as a
Yeah,
musician.
yeah,
So
and
anybody that's looking to do this, they might want to put back a couple, three or $400 or so.
well, they can if there's some places they can search for on the internet for mixers and whatnot, and some of the places, you know, have payment bucks a month or $6.
Or they might
Uh,
get one, yeah, from a friend for free. You never know.
yeah, you can you know, I mean, the streams are pretty cool because I actually you know, I've offered people to use my stream when I'm not using it. What good is it doing me if I don't? So
Mm-hmm.
I let people use it for a while to get the feel, but still they have to make that initial investment of the hardware. On the other side of the microphone, other
Mm-hmm.
side of real life, you need investment. I know some people who have tried this thing through the, and it works to an extent.
Well,
I know a violinist who can do it,
Right.
But she had to put some money out. She had to put a pickup on her violin and whatnot, etc. But like pickups on guitars, it's the same story.
Well, I play a psaltery. Have you ever heard of the psaltery?
I don't know. It's
It's
sultry.
yeah, it's like a little it's a stringed instrument. It's kind of like a violin. It's a
Uh-huh.
medieval instrument.
Oh,
And
okay.
it sounds if I play it badly, it sounds kind of like a cat dying.
Oh,
Um
no.
in the alley or something. It's not very nice, so try not to play it in here.
Uh,
Uh, but okay, well, I have two more questions to ask you
okay.
if you have time.
I do.
Okay, one question is real life. What was your favorite time that you ever had playing the sax on stage?
Mm, undoubtedly, there's only one, and that was the Rolling Stones concert. We
And
opened for
where
the
was
Rolling Sto
this?
we opened for the Rolling Stones in 1965, I believe, and May the 9th, because I know the date. And people remind me of it every year. We had a fan club, and the girl still around, and every she says, "You know what tomorrow is." And so yeah, we opened for the Rolling Stones, in it's called the Erie Crown Theater. Held about 5,000 people, and when that curtain opened up and the lights came on, I like to say only my laundryman knew what kind of day I had. You know,
That's a great way of putting it.
because it was quite exciting actually, and you couldn't hear yourself because of the screaming. They didn't care who they were screaming for, just as long as they were screaming.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
I bet that feeling was just outstanding,
yeah.
out of this world.
And then we got into the wings. We got into next to one of the curtains, and this place had a rising stage that came forward, and with a big barrier around it. And so all of a sudden you hear da 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 da, and they come up and they opened up with "Not Fade Away." I'll never forget. And they were all huddled together. It was quite cool.
Oh, it sounds like it. Wish I could have been there to see that.
Oh yeah, I can still see it in my head. The drummer was trying to yell in my ear. He was right next to me, screaming in my ear, saying, "Can you hear it? I got it." And I said, "I can't hear you." I said, "Quiet." You know, it was
That's
like that
amazing.
static in the radio, the old AM radios where you hear woo woo woo. It was like that.
Right. So that was a great mark in your life. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's I was telling you about rewards, and that's another reward. It just keeps
Hmm.
you playing.
Oh
You know,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
sure the
Beating
feeling
Tony
is
Bennett was
amazing.
another one. We used to work in one of the hotels downtown, and Tony Bennett was in the big room upstairs in the big more or less main act room, and we were working in a go-go room with go-go girls in cages, believe. And but he came down. We used to send flowers up to their room, so he came down to see who we were, and we met. We talked out in the hallway. He didn't come in and sing,
Hmm.
but so I met a lot of acts. That was a big hotel, popular place called the Palmer House. So yeah, it's fun. I mean, when you're in the entertainment business, and to any extent, depending on what kind of venue you get a chance to work in, you'll meet people. You
Do
know,
you ever get used to that feeling of amazement, or does it stick with you and hit you every time it
am I
happens?
am I starstruck? To an
Yeah.
extent, yeah. To an extent, yes. You want to, it's almost like. And then I met Tony Bennett after a gig one night, and so we were talking back and forth. He was a college mate. All of a sudden, comes Tony Bennett, comes up to the bar, says hi. We all talked and had a drink together. You know, just not saying, "Can I have your autograph" or anything. It's
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you answered that question. Actually, my mic had, I'm so sorry. It's going in and
oh
out.
yeah,
My, when my question was actually, um, But I'm glad you answered that one. So I'm glad that I didn't hear. But my question was actually like the moment that you were when you got up on that stage to open for the Rolling Stones. Do
Uh,
you do you ever like do you have that feeling every time you get on stage, or does it just do you get used to it, or does it just
oh,
happen every time?
I get nervous when I start a show in Second Life. I still get a little bit of a, is everything right? Is this going to sound good, etc., etc. So
Yeah.
no, there's always there's a rush. It's not. I don't like to let it get old hat. If this gets to be old hat, I'll take up knitting or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, yeah, I guess that you always get those butterflies in just a
Yeah.
little bit before, and then it just goes away, right?
Well, you have to
Just get
remember
up
that
there.
the entertainers are here for you, for their audiences, for the
Hmm.
rest of the community. I can play for myself here and be happy, but just to a chance to bring that joy as what it really is, or say tell seeing someone say, "Oh, that's my favorite tune," or say, I'm chair dancing or whatnot. That's great, because you're interacting and you're affecting someone else's life. Some of them may be infirm for all we know,
Hmm.
you know. So if they're chair dancing, maybe that's all they can do.
Well, you have to wonder sometime during all those performances that you gave, how many people got proposed to during one of your songs while you
Yeah,
were singing? How many people, found out, any type of news at all in their lives? I mean, you had to have been there in somebody's life at some time, and they say, "Oh yeah, I remember that band was playing," you know,
yep.
and they say, and it's just,
You mean in real
um,
life? Yeah, I remember.
yeah, in real
I'm
life.
sure there's people say, yeah, that's the day that she told me she was going out with somebody else. But you know, there's always the other side of the coin.
Or the day she was pregnant with quadruplets, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And
So
we hope
no,
it
I've
wasn't the divorce.
so music does affect does affect our surroundings. It's that.
It really does. It really does. Okay, here's my last question, Chicago, and this is going to kind of probably throw you for a loop, and I'm going to make it two questions, even though it's really just one question. But I'd like you to give me one of your most embarrassing moments in real life on stage, if you're brave enough.
Mhm.
And if you don't want to tell me that one, then your most embarrassing moment in Second Life.
I'll give you both real fast, right? I had the
Okay.
flu. We were doing an audition, a big downtown on Rush Street in Chicago, which was big entertainment. We were doing an audition,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the flu, and I was in the bathroom more than I was on the stage. So that wasn't a very good thing. We didn't get the gig,
Oh no.
part of it. The other one is in Second Life. I was up in my house above my first club,
Uh-huh.
and I had, as we all are want to do at some moments or another, we buy ourselves some attachments. So I was up, I was upstairs, and I had a performer downstairs. In fact, his name was he was the boogie woogie piano player.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, so he was working downstairs. I wanted to go down because I had to pay him and whatnot. So I popped downstairs, and I had my clothes on, but I didn't have everything put away.
Uh-huh.
So someone sent me a picture of
Right.
my current status,
Right.
and they said, "What are you going to do? Have birds sit on that thing?" And so I immediately disappeared.
Well, you're just trying on the elf ears, all right? The
Yeah, right.
pointy.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I was trying on.
And so you poofed out of there.
Oh, I was gone in an instant. And as soon as I saw the picture, now I don't know how long before they sent me the picture. I stood there, but hoped it wasn't long. You know. So yeah, that was probably the worst.
Oh goodness, my mic just kicked out on me too. So where did you go to when you poofed out of there?
Back
You
home,
just
back up. I just went back up to my place where I was staying. I had a place above the club.
you just ran, huh?
Oh, I ran like
Hmm.
gone.
Yes, well, the embarrassments never stop here in Second Life. That's one thing we can always count on,
Yeah, I
is
don't know if I
showing up
still have that
somewhere.
picture. I might still have that picture somewhere,
Uh, I just
but
got
I
rid of
didn't.
that.
I don't even want to see it. I don't even want to think about it. But
Eh,
no, that's the moment.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, Mr. Chicago Sax, for being with us today. I really do. I've enjoyed our little chat we've had here today, and I hope our audience does as well.
Well, thank you,
Um,
Bella, darling, and thank you, Nick, for enabling this, making this thing happen. And I believe this is going to end up on YouTube eventually.
it will, and I would, if you wouldn't mind, um, can you tell our audience really quick about what days you play in here and how to get a landmark?
Oh,
Or
sure. I work every other. I don't. I'm not working as much as I used to, but I every other working bi-weekly at Cool Cats Art Music Circus on Thursdays and at Cafe Casablanca on those will be on schedules. And also I work at Roissy Valdois at every Thursday night. But the Cafe Casablanca is 5 o'clock. The circus is at 2 o'clock SL, and Roissy is 7 o'clock.
okay, that sounds great. I'm sure that we'll have some information also on the credits as
Hmm.
for the audience to read
Yeah,
as
and those
well.
are and the thing is you have I can tell the audience right now, go out and explore, go out and listen to the musicians, because we love having you, even if it's for 10 minutes alone. Please come out and hear one of your come out and patronize the musicians. We love sharing our craft with you.
Oh, and thanks for playing in here. I mean, we really appreciate it. I love to. It's really nice to be able to come home at the end of the day in real life and pop on Second Life and come in and see some great uh, musicians, hear some great music,
It's
just
a
sit
great
down and
it's a great respite for us too.
it's awesome. We get to sit here in our houses. We don't even have to get dressed up to go out,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we're sitting in this beautiful club, and we're watching you. You know.
And I always tell people I said in Second Life, when I describe it to real life people, I said I can go out there and get paid a few bucks and I can play in my underwear, because I'm not leaving the house. So,
Exactly. Well, that's how I'm going to picture you from now on, every time
Okay,
you
yeah,
play your
that's
sax. You in your underwear, so I better start getting a boxer collection going for you.
there you go. There you
Gotta
go.
have some good-looking boxers while you're up there on stage.
Well, thank you again, Bella. Thank you, Streetwear Life, and Nick. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.